the final say on this issue of eligibility, both on the former president or any candidate, will be decided, as it typically is, in the courts, both at the state and federal level. So you may see some secretaries of state make an initial determination based on our view of the law or what the law allows us to do. But no matter what determination is made, it will ultimately be fully resolved by the U.S. Supreme Court. We hope sooner rather than later to give us all clarity moving forward for this election cycle.
Just quickly, in the meantime, do you expect to have to make some kind of judgment before the Supreme Court weighs in about whether Trump shows up on the 2024 ballot in your state?
Potentially. I mean, our decision for the primary election plays out in just the next few months, and Nevada and several other states will be making decisions even before that.
There's the Michigan Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, talking about whether or not Donald Trump can be on the ballot even. This has been discussed before over the 14th Amendment, but there's a few new players that are trying to get this going. And she was talking about how she wishes that the Supreme Court would actually weigh on this soon because election season is upon us. Details here from Newsweek. The court distributed John Castro v. Donald Trump to the justices for a conference on Wednesday. It's ahead of the upcoming term, which is going to begin at the beginning of October. The conference is to take place on September 26th, and the case is expected to be decided on or before October 9th, again from the Supreme Court, about whether or not Trump can appear on many ballots in a few states that are looking to oust him because of more details here. Because John Castro, as you saw in that briefing name, or at least the name of this particular case, he is a tax attorney running for president on the Republican side. You haven't heard his name before because he's probably polling pretty low, but he is looking to get Trump off of the ballot in some of these states. There he is on his, I believe, X account, showing that he's running for president. The lawsuit is seeking to argue that Trump should not be allowed to run for the White House based on Section 3 of that 14th Amendment. And it disqualifies individuals from holding public office if they have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States. Obviously, Trump has not been charged with insurrection, but Castro is pointing to his role in the January 6th plot to do so. I don't know, man. This ain't gonna go that far. That's really my main thought about this. What are you thinking?
I mean, I agree. I think that the argument has some merit, and I think that he's successfully circumvented the standing issue that caused the previous case to be dismissed. Because as someone who's running against Donald Trump within the Republican Party, he definitely has standing to bring this lawsuit because he will suffer, immediate and irreparable, harm if Trump is allowed to run. As a candidate individually. I think that the Supreme Court, of course, is never gonna take Trump off of the ballot. I think that it was a Hail Mary attempt. I think that his argument has a lot of merit. I think that a lot of legal scholars, I know that a lot of legal scholars have, also voiced this opinion and made the same argument that the 14th Amendment absolutely could be used to prevent Trump from running for president. But to that end, I think that I'm talking from a legal side of things. From a political side of things, I don't know if it's better. I think it might be worse because, if the Supreme Court thought that liberal protesters holding signs outside their house was bad when they overturned Roe v. Wade, if they ruled that Trump couldn't run, the hellstorm that would rain down upon them by Trump supporters would be something the likes of which they have never seen before. And I don't necessarily know if that's getting him off the ballot in this way is going to help. I think it might just legitimize him more in the eyes of his supporters versus him actually running and losing an election or being indicted and having to go to jail.
That's definitely one thing that's definitely one thing that I think that they've successfully implemented in their constant drumbeat against anything that's going down with Donald Trump. It's this connection of chaos versus legality or normal politics, democracy, all that. So they've openly said things like that. If they do this, then the chaos that'll come down, the supporters that'll get so upset and take to the streets. So they're supposed to be pumping this fear into so many people and wondering, hey, if we do the right thing, if we prosecute him just like everyone else, or implement laws on him that we would do with anyone else, his supporters are so rabid and stupid that they might come out in the streets and cause more chaos. And do we really want that? Let's just maybe calm on some of these things and hope that he just loses normally without us actually following processes that we would do if it was anyone else. Let's keep it real. Because by the way, he did say this is graphic 5, because you talked about whether or not this will be legally and based off whether or not the real actions of our law and constitution. Donald Trump don't care about that. This is what he said. He said almost all legal scholars, lying, have voiced opinions that the 14th Amendment has no legal basis or standing relative to the upcoming 24 election. Like election interference, it's just another trick being used by the radical left communists. Okay, here's the list. Communists, Marxists, fascists to again steal an election that their candidate, the worst, most incompetent, most corrupt president in history, is incapable. Again, they're communists, Marxists, and fascists somehow. Who knows? They're also capitalists too. Who gives a damn? Let's just throw all kinds of ists out there and see how many things can stick and pump enough fear into folks. But by the way, as I point out, he said almost all legal scholars. Which ones are not doing it, Donnie? Well, let's look at this headline from New York Times, because this case from conservatives will emerge to disqualify Trump again with this 14th Amendment. A couple law professors at the Federalist Society wrote that the original meaning of the 14th Amendment makes Trump ineligible as well.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.